Welcome to Captain's Log 004, which is basically Discord notes. And this one has taken a while to do. We started Discord notes, Discord voice notes, Discord notes. We started this back in July 7, 2025, with the first one being, well, actually called Conversations I Had Before You Got Here, which is something like that. And that was just the start of something different, a side project. That's what Discord Notes is. It is a side project whenever wrestling gets a little too heavy, and especially when Twitter gets a little too heavy, and when sometimes life gets a little too heavy. I have something else to talk about and have my thoughts elsewhere and whatnot. And again, I'm not abandoning professional wrestling. Like, I love professional wrestling. You guys know this. By the way, this is your first time tuning in. I am your host, Marie Shadows. I also have the Square Circle podcast, which is the main wrestling hub where I talk about professional wrestling, break it down, which is my tape study series, and interview wrestlers and help out MLW as a freelance media press um, analyst, more than journalist, because I'm not a journalist. I'm more of an analyst. And, I have vlogs and I do a lot of things. And I'm a former WWE employee. I worked at WWE in 2018 and I worked on the WWE network. Completing the 7-year-old dream, even though I want to still be a writer for WWE. And yeah, maybe one day that can definitely happen. But yeah, welcome to Discord Notes Volume 4. I have a lot to go over with you guys. Just a lot of thoughts. Like I said, this is a little bit different. Discord Notes won't always be like, oh, let's talk about wrestling. It's more about updates, life updates, things that I think about, and, just stuff like that. Just stuff about life, a little bit easier, a little bit calmer, a little bit looser of a podcast. But yeah, we started the first one on July 7th, 2025, and it's already September. And, when you blink, it's sort of like, where the fuck did the time go? And it just feels like I have a lot to tell you. I know I already said that. I know I did. I am so rusty. I have been overthinking this episode for the past week or so. Because sometimes when you get out of a routine, you're sort of like, hey, do I still got it yet? Are people still going to tune in? Is this gonna happen? Is that gonna happen? So it's more about like a state of mind to do this. And then you're thinking about like if people are going to like how they're gonna respond. But I can't control how you respond. So welcome to Discord Notes Volume 4. Let's get into the topics that I want to talk about today, which is September 8th, 2025. In the first 3 volumes of Discord Notes, we basically went over a bunch of different topics. We talked about, conversations I had before you got here, which is the start of the side projects that I want to do, which is the Crossroads series, which are interviews and also editorials. Those editorials can range from talking about music through the lens of a creative person or creative content creator or just a creativity, full round person, and probably through the lens of like wrestling, because you can't escape that wrestling is at the highest like creativity there is, because it is so man-made, that has a lot of different elements from everything that we enjoy in this world that we consider entertainment. So it could have like some breakdown for that. But also there's a particular editorial that I want to do about AEW and a what if they would have kept the whole vlog situation? And then, I'm going back and forth with another video topic idea, which is talking about and studying about the fall of Gabe Kidd. Because man, that promo that he did on Shingo Takagi and then talking about the G1 and how he had to sit home, but yet then he ended up being in a cage match. It's like, bro, like your promos used to hit, but that paycheck says something else. And I think that might be still under the Square Circle podcast, but I wanted to update you guys on like where I'm thinking about certain topics. And then there was another topic that I wanted to do talking about how sometimes people come into your life for a season and it hurts sometimes. It really does. And I had to take a step back, realizing that I had to go through one of those things. It sort of feels like, nah, I mean, I don't know why my brain wanted to be like, oh, it sort of feels like a divorce. It's not a divorce. Maybe a friendship divorce, if that happens. But for the most part, like, I had to go through that not too long ago. And this is why we have volume 4 of Discord notes. But I wanted to talk about that. Sometimes people, whether they are friends, boyfriends, girlfriends, relationships, situationships, whatever the fuck, they happen for a reason, they happen for a season, and sometimes you can learn a lot from the fallout. You can learn a lot during the beginning stages and all of that. And I wanted it to basically be a comfort. That sounds better. A comfort around, like, you don't have to hold on to it, and you can always let it go. And sometimes letting go is the best thing to do in those type of situations. So that's like a topic idea. There was also some other topic ideas, but I think it's those three. It's music, it's talking about life, because we all go through, having to be like, oh, we can't be friends no more, but not because of a stupid um break off to not be friends, not of a stupid situation, but like a legit reason to not be that person's friend anymore. Just because you have a difference in politics doesn't mean that you guys should not be friends, unless like it cannot really 100% cannot be reconciled. Because we as human beings crave um people being in our vicinity and people in our community. Like, we are creatures of habit. I probably said that before in the other episodes, but we are creatures of habit, meaning that when we create a community, we want to be around people. Being by yourself, even though there are people out there that enjoy being alone, you guys, need to be checked on. And I'm not saying that as if, like, they need to be put in a mental hospital, but to be checked on to make sure that they're okay, because sometimes you do need someone else to talk to. You do need another interaction with another person. And so that's why sometimes, if you are so used to being alone, you don't know what friendship might be and what friendship can do for you. But the point is that we all crave community. We all crave to be around another person just for company's sake, and to feel good and to talk to somebody and have somebody to bounce off ideas with and basically have a friendship. That's what friendships are for. But if you're just going to completely destroy your friendship over nonsensical shit where you could just bypass, then you guys were never meant to be friends. Because if that's the one thing that you want to rely on, and you never valued them, and you never valued a friendship because they have a different way of thinking or a different way of looking at something or a perspective or a belief, and it took you 20 years to realize that your so-called friend always believed in that, but you never wanted to acknowledge it or be like, okay, cool, this is getting a little weird, or talk about it ahead of time, but that one stupid conversation just breaks it all. Yeah, you never valued that person. You were only there because you wanted the comfort and the attention on you, if you were going to just ignore it for like 20 years. And then once you have like that bombshell sort of conversation about differences, whether that's like differences in policies, differences in like cooking, very small, stupid shit. And then you're like, oh, we're no longer friends because, for the past 20 years, just been ignoring it, but I can do it now. I hope that makes sense. I really does. I really do. This is why I have these Discord notes, to get these thoughts out of my head. And this is not a polished sort of podcast. This is just going to be all over the place. So yeah, stuff like that, to talk about real, not issues. It's not really, I don't know if it's an issue, but real situations that people go through, and they sort of like probably ask themselves a million questions of like, if it was their fault, if they broke off the friendship or the other person broke off the friendship, and don't know how to deal or cope with the idea of someone coming into your life for a season. And I remember when I first heard that, which I don't remember where or when I first heard that phrase of, when someone comes into your life for a season, like, it's okay. That completely changed my perspective on things in life and interactions between myself and other people in life, because you're not meant to be everyone's friend. You're not meant to be everyone's mentor. You're not meant to be everyone, you know, their buddy. You're not meant for everybody. You're meant for yourself, and you're meant for your good, close group of people that you surround yourself with, your like in your community. The good thing about this is that you get to pick and choose who you want to be in your community. And so, because we have that, sometimes people don't know how to deal when like friendships break off, if that makes sense. And I wanted to talk about that because, like I said, I had to deal with that. I had to deal with that. Guys, I know I could speak today, but give me some leeway because this is like I have to get the rust off to do these Discord notes. Because before I was really making them like nonstop. And that was because I was on Twitter and I had content and, stuff like that. So I was able to tell you guys stuff that I was just thinking about. But that's the idea for what I want to do for Crossroads series. The only problem is that, again, I overthink. Again, I just have that little voice in the back of my head that tells me all the negative stuff, that tells me all the, what if this, what if that. There's a reason why I still haven't made the Nickelback editorial to talk about their documentary, because of that little voice in the back of my head. So what I'm going to do for this particular note, I am going to ask you guys in the comments, please drop me your favorite Nickelback song. Let's talk about Twitter because I have not been on since maybe a little bit before or after doing the first couple of Discord notes, because man, Twitter is so toxic. And I think that right after Hulk Hogan unfortunately passing away, and I think that was it. I think that made me be like, no, let me not stay on this toxic app for that. And, you can feel however you want to feel about Hogan and whatnot. And people have already came after me to tell me that I'm stupid for believing in what I believe in and standing up for what I stand for and all that kind of stuff. And I was just like, yeah, you know what? Time to take a break from Twitter. And I can tell you that it has been the most glorious thing. I have been building my Instagram, your fave, Marie Shadows. If you guys want to join me over there, that is an experiment of a Instagram channel, meaning that it's a variety channel. So it's not going to be just focusing on wrestling. It's going to be focusing on other things, stuff I want to talk about, stuff I want to showcase. I want to put over people within different fandoms and within different communities, and listen to my new favorite found genre in like current country. Like I have no idea, but country music, because I went down a rabbit hole of country music, and I still have not told you guys the story of how that happened. But I do want to put over some artists that make some good music. By the way, if you're hearing outside is having some construction. So if you hear that in this Discord note, that's why. It's very loud over here and some cars passing by. But yeah, being off of Twitter has allowed me to focus my energy on different types of projects. Definitely focus more on trying to build Discord as well. I have two Discords, but I would like you guys to join the chat community Discord. And for those of you that are listening, that you are in the Shadows Den Discord, I love you guys so, so much. But go join the chat community Discord. Again, I'm still trying to build up stuff. Again, I'm still trying to not feel like a lone wolf in the content creation game just because I have to move around some stuff and do different types of things ever since losing friends and having to move on again. Like, I don't know why that's a thing in the wrestling community. I don't know why we either have to backstab each other or, you know, just not be the community that we say that we are. Even though I have probably talked about this and I know about this and I can see it from a mile away that everybody is out for themselves in the wrestling community. There are just a handful of people, because I don't want you guys to get upset. There is a handful of people that end up being really good friends for life and they have a great understanding and they will always be each other's cheerleaders. But for the majority of wrestling community content creators that you think that you can like be their friends for like years, like a good friendship, they turn out to stab you in the back, or they become a snake, or they basically disregard your whole entire experiences in the wrestling business, knowing that like, you're on the front lines. You're not sitting there, well, me, like I'm not sitting here on an armchair telling people, "Oh yeah, that's what they do." Like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm like on the front lines whenever I work a wrestling event, whenever I do whatever I do as a freelance helper with MOW and in all my past like experiences and shit. But just to disregard it because you don't like a particular male figure. Or a particular male person, I should say. But yeah, so I don't know why. I don't know why in the wrestling community we cannot be as community like as the music artists is that I want to put over. And I've been noticing that there's a really huge difference in marketing when it comes to the music artists and the wrestling community. And it's like, I think the wrestling community just leaves a lot of money on the table. They leave a lot of things on the table. And I understand that if them doing their podcast and stuff is not like 100% their full-time job and it's just a hobby. I get that, but you also have to try to make sure that people are listening to your older stuff, to have people engage in your stuff and not just try to crank out for the machine for the sake of the machine. And I'm talking about like YouTube. You know, there is also like, ways of getting people to really be engaging. And most of the time, people are engaging if it's like a live chat, which is very, very fun. But if it's just like a static alone video, leave a comment, leave something. But don't be an asshole because lately I've been getting like asshole comments on my videos. And, I rightfully clap back, but then eventually it's like, nah, I gotta block you because if not, you're always gonna want to have the last word. And by the way, if I block you, it doesn't mean that I hate you. It just means that you're not contributing or giving me any new information. You just want to argue for the sake of arguing and reacting for the sake of reacting rather than like building something, rather than trying to have me learn something. Like I mainly like probably 90% of whatever you're going to tell me, I probably already know. I need to know the 10% of something new if you're going to try to come into my comments. But I only say that because the Roger Jackson situation, two videos, man, have really taught me that listening comprehension is down and critical thinking is down, and people just want to be ignorant for the sake of being ignorant and not try to listen to what I had to say like at least twice if they didn't understand it the first time. So yeah, this one went off a little bit off the rails, but yeah, it's just the fact of I'm seeing differences. Even though like the music community, I hear stories about how the fandom is sort of crazy too, because you got your stands, but you're always gonna have your stands in like any kind of fandom. But I do see a sense of community when it comes to the people who comment on music artists' stuff. And it's just been such a breath of fresh air where no one is really trying to be like, oh, I'm smarter than you, or, I'm the best loyal fan ever. I mean, I might come across that one day, but who knows? But for now, it's sort of like we're all in agreement that these music artists make really good music for us to listen to and have on the background or have on a good walk or have in the car and stuff like that. Versus like, wrestling Twitter, you always have to be on guard 24/7. You always have to make sure you have a clap back for somebody. And even if someone didn't mean to be judgmental or mean to be ignorant or mean to be like sarcastic or something, because you really can't tell tone on the internet. It's just words that you're reading. But like in wrestling Twitter, you always have to be on guard 24/7 because, some troll might want to come and be stupid and say something. You have to have a comeback or a clapback. If not, they're going to call you all names in the book, like, it's a high school bully. And I remember saying that somewhere. Oh yeah, I probably said in the Roger Jackson thing that like we have moved the online bullying and the calling of names. to the internet. And sooner or later, that shit is going to get really, really restricted, and Congress is probably going to go out of their mind and really do some shit, you know? So it's really sad that on Twitter, you have to be like 24/7, sort of in defense mode. And since I have been off Twitter, I don't have to be like that anymore. I really don't. I feel 100% rusty doing these Discord voice notes. But for like, yeah, the last three was just some heavy stuff, talking about Twitter toxicity, fake outrage, the way people can be cruel without even knowing you, and even telling you guys financial stuff about being a content creator and the many ways that you guys can support me directly rather than having the third party sites end up doing that. What I do want to talk about in Discord notes 4 is the things that I have been focusing on. And, I mentioned country music, and there are three artists that I definitely want to talk about because they all have music coming out this month, which is like September feels like everyone's spring. So, like new beginnings and stuff like that. So, okay, I never really liked country music, it was never on my radar. And I think that's just because of like, I just didn't want to hear songs about, the stereotypes that people kept making about country music and stuff like that. But country music is very storytelling filled, and right now I'm in an era and a mindset of that I want storytelling. I want to escape the idiocy of reality sometimes, even though you have to be an adult. But who wants to be an adult nowadays? But, I just want storytelling. I want to get inspired more. I don't want to be like doom and gloom everywhere because it's really not. It's really not. Like if you have a roof over your head, if you're able to have food, if you're able to have like really good neighbors, a really good friendship with your best buddy, and you guys like go out and you guys eat, make dinner, if you have a lot of the very stuff that we sort of neglect over time, the tiny little things, if you have that on a daily basis, you're basically rich, even if you don't feel like it. Even if money is not coming in, even if you're not like a millionaire, it's okay. Sometimes the small things in life, the stuff that you can control, can make you rich. The stuff you cannot control will basically not make you rich. You'll get there fast. I mean, sorry, you won't get there faster. Wrong thing. You will get there slower, and once you get there and complete everything and you're able to enjoy the fruits of your labor by taking care of the hardest thing to ever do, it will feel like the best thing ever in the world. However, like I said, we take for granted the tiny little things that we can do, and sometimes we have to appreciate that a little bit more. So yeah, back to country music. So like I basically just didn't like the idea of the stereotypes of country music. I respected like big names like Carrie Underwood, who was on American Idol at one point as a judge. Like I know that. Do we consider Kelly Clarkson country, or she's just a straight pop star? Um, you know, I respect Kelly Clarkson because I love Kelly. She makes amazing music. But then I think it was, I don't know. I don't want to say Jelly Roll because everybody was like, Jelly Roll bad. Jelly Roll shouldn't be in WWE, and like we shouldn't have his music being played. And it's like, is he really that bad? So I think I started checking out some of his music, and I'm like, he's not bad. He tells like really good stories in his music. And then I started to, I watched the Nickelback documentary, and Nickelback went on tour with Hardy went on tour with Nickelback for a bit, and they basically did one of their songs together. And Hardy has a song called Rockstar, and he thought that Nickelback's label would have been like, "Hey, cease and desist, because you got Rockstar," and that's our song or whatever. But no, it's fine. Hardy's song called Rockstar is really really good. Hardy is a really good storyteller as well, and I guess we could consider him country music. He's a country boy. But his songs are really good and interesting. There's a series that I want to drop on Instagram where it's basically me asking. questions. What questions would I ask these artists? And also, just asking questions about their music and stuff like that. Because Hardy has a wonderful song called Psycho, where it's a different perspective, it's the guy's perspective on like what if the guy was the psycho and the girl was never the psycho. You know how in entertainment for years and years and years and years that the female will always be depicted as the crazy one, and that if you broke up with her she would key your car and she would make your life a living hell, because it's like, no, you were supposed to be for me, but then the guy is like, look how crazy this bitch is. So it's basically that just turned into a male perspective, and that's one of my favorite fucking songs. So I want to make an IG reel about that because that's very interesting, and that's the storytelling power of like, hey, let's do a what if in that scenario. By the way, me as a woman, we are crazy, so it's a like I can vouch for that. But luckily the perspective changed when that happened. But yeah, Hardy has some like really good music, and his album Country should be dropping soon. He should be dropping it soon this month. And then also I've discovered Chase McDaniel, only because Spotify recommended Chase to me, and hearing his first early music, and then up until now, like it definitely there's a change there, and I just really enjoy his sound and the stories that he has to, well, not has to, the stories that he tells, not has to. And then there's another guy named Warren Zeiders, where he has an interesting voice, interesting sound, and interesting storytelling. Like, I think that his storytelling perspective on his songs a very is very tight when it comes to songwriting. Very, very tight. Very metaphorical, not like super metaphorical, but like some stuff is metaphorical because obviously, not every song that these guys come up with is about like drugs itself. It could definitely be about like women as like the centerpiece and stuff like that. But there's clever ways to talk about women. There's clever ways to talk about drugs. There's very clever ways to talk about, issues and stuff like that. And honestly, um, Warren Zeiders definitely has the stronger storytelling and songwriting ability. Hardy has some strong ones too, and stuff. But for me, as a female, if we're going by like, can I use this in my creative writing for like a romance? It'll be Warren Zeiders. It'll be that because it's that like it's romancy in a way, even though some of the shit that he talks about is really not to be for romantic purposes, but just the idea of like how strong it is, how tight it is. Get your minds out of the gutter. Thanks. Get your minds out of the gutter. So each of these guys are having their album drop and then also a song dropping. Chase's album drops this month, and then Hardy drops this month, and then Warren has his new single called Only Bible out. And the only reason I wanted to bring it up is because on Instagram I did say that I do not basically have, I'm not religious. Okay. I'm not religious. Most of these guys are Christian. Um, and I guess for the purpose of talking about music, I am a fan of Skillet, and I know Skillet is a Christian band, but I really don't care because I grew up Catholic all my life, went to Catholic school all my life, and then went to college. College was not um, any type of religious sort of centerpiece. It was just a regular college, but I grew up Catholic because when you are Italian, that is to be expected. So as of right now, if you wanted to know, because I guess I'm sharing it right now, if you wanted to know, I am basically agnostic, meaning that I really don't believe in God like that. I do believe that there is a higher power or something, but I do allow people to believe whatever they want to believe, and I'm never really going to tell you that you gotta believe in a god, because you gotta believe in a god. You can believe in whatever you want to believe in, as long as like you're not really deliberately getting into my personal space or trying to hinder me or anything that like just oversteps boundaries, because I'll allow you to do what you want to do, but just don't overstep my boundaries. But I do understand that the talk of religion is not for everybody, and if you really don't like this part, it's okay. Totally fine. I will respect that. But I'm just letting you know that I'm agnostic. I don't really care about religion. And most of the stuff now that I see on my IG feed and stuff like that is Christianity this, Christianity that. Cool, no problem. But what I do want to mention is that when Warren drops his Only Bible song on September 12th. It was interesting that he put up what his pastor said, and it was the basis for the song. And this is how you know that some songs can be very story driven, and it's basically about you wanting to have another person that can read you, even if like they are not religious on any point, right? But sometimes you want people to read you and accept you as who you are, and that's how you can form the foundation of your friendship or a relationship. And that's what I'm taking from this song. It's a very powerful message. I think it's powerful just because of like, not every day does somebody, want to be your friend and accepts you for who you are. Sometimes people have ill intentions when they want to become your friend. Maybe sometimes they want something from you. Maybe they want to be manipulated by you. Like, who knows? But for starters, like, it's him telling the world and his future girlfriend or whatever, his future relationships that accept him as who he is. And I think that's just a powerful message because sometimes people try to change way too much of the other person just to fit a trend or fit a stereotype or even not fit anything at all. Or it might just be, what can they gain from trying to change you when it's like nobody should be changing anybody unless like there are some really bad traits where it's like, yo, you got to work on that. You got to heal yourself. You got to work on that. But if it's just really minute kind of things, you don't really have to worry about it. Now, if it's like a danger to something, then yeah, worry about it. But sometimes people don't want to take others as they are, but they want the same thing done for them, if that makes sense. Like you have to change for that person in order to be their friend. But then when you bring up something that you're like, hey, maybe you should change for me as well because this little, issue might cause bigger problems. And here is XYZ for like the kind of issues that they could cause. And if that person is really like, no, 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 you got to go. But yeah, Only Bible comes out on September 12th. Chase McDaniel has his first full album, which I have questions. And Hardy drops his album too, not too long. I don't even. It might be sometime this week or even towards the end of the month. But all three of them are like really good. They have really good messages, really good songs, really good storytelling, um, scenes and cinematic and stuff. I'm really trying to find the right words. And no, I'm not trying to kiss any of their asses. But this is what I've been doing ever since I've been off of Twitter is finding different things to sort of like discover and talk about and have conversations about. Again, if you don't want to have a conversation about religion, that's totally fine. I'm not opening that up to sort of have that conversation, but it was just, throwing it in there as like, hey, if this is something that you like, go and check them out. If not, it's totally okay. I just wanted to put them over because they have done really good things and they have really good music. And I study their marketing. They have really good marketing. They have a really good content guy with them. So, us wrestling nerds and like in the wrestling community, we can learn from them. That's exactly why I've been, watching their Instagram, not to be a stalker, but just to be a fan, But yeah, they've been doing really good stuff on marketing wise. So I just wanted to put them over. A couple more updates, and then I guess this rounds it out. I hope it rounds it out because every time that I say, yeah, this might round it out. No, I still want to talk about more stuff. Because I've missed you guys for 2 months because I didn't, have any content to really talk about, until, leading up to this one. So the other thing that I've been doing ever since I've been off of Twitter is focusing on my cyberpunk. novel, which I really want to get it done. I really want to get it done. And I really want to be like, hey, I wrote a novel because, again, I have a creative writing degree and I have a publishing certificate. So I basically want this thing to be done. The only reason why it's taking a little bit long is because I am doing rewrites as I'm writing the first draft. I know that is a no-no, that you're not supposed to do that. But sometimes it's like I'll be talking about the characters and everything. And I have the majority of it laid out in my head, that sometimes when you're talking about a situation or a character, or the setting or something like that, or a situation in the book, it's sort of like, oh, that's a different perspective. So you try to fit it in somewhere in there with just like a line or something. But I have the habit of just like starting over. I hate it. But yeah, I've been working on that. I'm currently in chapter 2. And you guys don't know how many times this thing has been rewritten from like the original like format. Maybe as a cool thing, I will, bundle everything up and like send it out. But for the time being, it has been very, very, very fun to write. It is inspired by Cyberpunk 2077, so which I love that game to death. So it's inspired by that. But yeah, chapter 2 is coming along just fine. Just fine. Not fine, just fine. Um, the other thing that I want to mention here in part 4, sorry, is that in November I have my wisdom tooth surgery. So November I will be quiet. I will not be making content. I will be healing from that. Even though we are 2 months away, because it's September, October, November, so like 2 months away. So yeah, but I wanted to let you guys know early that I'll be having my wisdom tooth extracted. So November, I will not have anything, but I still encourage my community to let me know what's happening in wrestling and stuff. Other than that, do not give your information out on the internet. That was the one thing that I wanted to talk about just very briefly. So I have been using the Threads app as well. It's connected to Instagram. And so basically, I had threaded out that New York City needs a Republican mayor. And one person, a man, decided to ask me, where do I live in New York City? What is my closest subway stop? First of all, sir, I am not like all the new age kids out here that will just willingly tell you where they live and will basically harm themselves in the process of it, because now you open yourself up to random shit that happens. Luckily, I grew up in the 90s and I had a really good upbringing where it's like, hey, don't tell strangers where you live and protect yourself at all times. And I know how to protect myself on the internet. But this man kept being pushy and asking me, what stops does the train, the 1, 2, or 3 train stop? Oh, skip on the west side. Excuse me, why are you still trying to probe where I live in New York City just on a very innocent statement like New York City needs a Republican mayor? New York City is currently dying. We need a Republican mayor. We need the mayor to like undo all the stupidity that for years our Democratic leaders have done. Okay. And I try to stay as neutral as I can on these topics and situations, but New York City is my home. But do not try to continue to probe and be like, where do you live? Where do you live? So I kept calling him out, and I kept, telling Threads like, hey, this is not okay. This man keeps asking me where I live, what subway stop is nearest to me. Like, what are we doing here? Why are you so up in arms? If you're not going to contribute to the conversation that you want to have with me, then scroll on by. If you're going to ask where I live, that's a no no. That's me protecting myself. Like, I don't know you, you don't know me. Why does it matter where I live? If I know that something is wrong, I can definitely like tweet it out. If I have people that give me, antecedents of like stories of like really horrible shit, I can tweet out to be like, well, thread out really. I could thread out to be like, hey, I don't agree with this. And I've had many people tell me this exact same story. Like, this is not okay. It's okay to do stuff like that. And it's okay to stand up for a city that is losing her magic. New York City is definitely losing her magic. But for that man to really try to get my information like that, now I know probably some sarcastic person or some idiot, some low IQ person would be like, "Oh, well, all of our information is out on the internet. Our locations are out on the internet." No shit. No shit that our information is out on the internet, but that still does not make it right for someone to continue to probe to ask where you live and then want to be all like, superior or try to tell you, something else. Like, no. And even if our information is out there, why are you still asking me if you could go find it? Like, that makes no sense. Why are you wasting your time and my time if you're not going to contribute to the conversation or tell me something new or try to tell me, no, this is why we don't need a Republican mayor? Why are you wasting my time if you're not going to help the conversation to try to be somewhat educational? If our information is already out there, scroll on by, you could go find it. That kind of deal. Like, what is the point of doing that? Oh, I know what the point was doing. That the point was to put me in one of their databases that one of the political commentators will like show off and be like, hey, this is what they do when they want to control. Because everything is about control. Now, I did not mean to like end it on this topic, but the lesson to be learned is that do not give your information out to strangers. If a stranger on the internet is constantly trying to be like, hey, what subway is nearest to you? Or, tell me what stop the 1, 2, or 3 trains skip on the west side. No. So this is about like protecting yourself and making sure that you are good on the internet. It's not to start any kind of stupid ass debate or division. It's more about you got to remain safe on the internet. Okay? Because for some reason people lack critical thinking, people lack understanding, people lack perspective, people lack a lot of things because it just disrupts their worldview and they take everything to heart and they think that you are against them when in reality we're probably not against each other, but the fact that people don't want to take off the blinders to realize that that's why we haven't fully recovered to truly be the united nation that we should be with people. I'm not saying to like love everybody and just blanket everything because we're still human beings with free will and like all this kind of shit, but I do believe that we can be very, very prosperous if we just end up listening, but listening in our reality and not in a delusional reality. And this is why I say sometimes if I want to wrap this up, I really don't, I really can't, only because I'm going to go not really around in circles, but to just rant about stuff. But yeah, it's basically please be careful online. Do not tell any person, whether they are a man, whether they are a woman, whether they are whatever the fuck they think they are, whether they're an it and a bot or a burner, do not tell them any kind of private information like that. That is why there's always policies that say do not give out your information. Do not tell them where you live. Do not tell them your address. Don't tell them this. While yes, everything that we do online, you have to fill out something if you want to buy something, so your information is there, it gets stored, and then like breaches happen and shit like that. I totally get that. We got to find a way to make sure that like all that shit is safer, but we'll figure that out like, who knows, 50 years from now. But either way, you still got to make sure that you are completely safe online. That is the point that I'm trying to make with this last point and this last topic. I say last topic. Maybe it is last topic. I don't know. But do not give people your information. Do not. And every time that I said, why are you still asking? Why are you still probing? And then to continue to call him out, he eventually either deleted all of his comments to me on my thread, post, or he blocked me. And then I'm realizing that when people block you, you can't really see the interaction anymore and stuff like that. So it looks mad weird. But again, do not let somebody goat you or goad you or push you into telling them private information. That's why it's private for a reason. Make sure to protect yourself and protect others. Last thing. If you made it this far after my little rant about not giving a stranger your information, thank you so much. So what's going to be happening moving forward is that the Discord notes are going to continue to happen because again, this is my side project. There is no script for this. It is all about like whatever I'm thinking, whatever I want to talk about. It's free flowing. It's a very loose podcast. We're going to call it a quote unquote podcast, right? And this is going to be under the main umbrella of the Square Circle podcast. If you guys don't know, the Square Circle podcast, again, is where I talk about professional wrestling and stuff like that. This one had, some talk about professional wrestling because this is me getting back into it, getting the rust off the wheels and letting you guys know what's up in volume 4. So this is going to be free. I know in episode 3, I said that they're going to start being paid because, it is kind of difficult to do this in a way, but not difficult as in like, oh my God, do I really want to do this? No, difficult as in like trying to find people that want to support me for what I do because I do not tell you any kind of lies. I do not try to basically grift you, which is selling you something that is very misleading. I don't do any of that kind of stuff. I tell you what it is. And that's across the board in my whole entire wrestling podcast and stuff like that. And sometimes when we are part of the machine that allows us to do content creation, a lot more percentages get taken out of the hard-earned money that you are giving us to support us. So I have mentioned very briefly about like, maybe like YouTube or not, or like Spotify and stuff. That's why sometimes I don't believe that I'm ever going to get into the Spotify program. It's not like before where like Anchor would allow you to put in ads and I was getting like pennies on the dollar and I was able to take out like $10 once I reached the threshold. But ever since Anchor integrated with Spotify, those numbers are just so like really, really big. There's no way that I can do that unless everybody is hands on deck. If you are a Spotify listener, it only works if you are a Spotify listener. If you're listening to this on Apple, Google, Zencaster, like anything else that's not Spotify, those numbers, those analytics do not count towards the Spotify numbers of what I need to achieve in order to be part of their program. And that sucks because I do way better outside of Spotify than anything else. I do way better outside of Spotify. So there's that. There's things that I like to be very, very transparent with you guys. So the couple of times on Twitter that people call me a grifter is like, you don't know how to use that word. Just tell me you don't agree with me. If you don't agree with me, that's fantastic. Awesome. Move on. But yeah, so like I said, this is the last little like update. So moving forward, obviously, Volume 4 will be free to listen to on the Square Circle podcast on Spotify. But also I am putting it up on Fourthwall. If you guys don't know about Fourthwall, Fourthwall is very similar to Patreon. It's another way to support me, the content creator, directly, where you can get a membership. And moving forward, I will probably put full episodes of the Discord notes up on there under a $5 tier where you get to listen to it and comment on it and stuff like that, and maybe drop some, one or two voice notes in the Spotify stuff, if that makes sense. Um, and by the way, this is not really, you know, we'll figure it out. But Fourth Wall is where most of it is going to live. Maybe after 5. Um, I just want people to listen. We'll have a conversation about it. I like conversations. I like, talking about things. That's why I keep the Square Circle podcast completely free. And I say that, so like if I'm reviewing a New Japan show, I want people to talk about it. I want people to be like, hey, I don't agree with this because of X, Y, Z. Again, just be very civil about it. You don't have to be very, very aggressive 0 to 100 about it and then like name call and whatnot. Like, I want people to discuss things. This is why sometimes it's kind of hard to be like, hey, support me here behind a paywall. But I also have like other things. But Fourthwall is where the Discord notes are going to be living. Fourthwall also allows me to show you what kind of merchandise I am creating. I create original merchandise. If you are from New York City, I do have a 718 Deadass hat that you can purchase, and I even have cups and mugs and notebooks and T-shirts and stuff like that. Eventually, I will have another wrestling planner out for the 2026 year, and we're gonna be talking about that. I'll go through my process and stuff. So if you just want extra content and you want to support me for the content that I do, head over to Fourthwall to grab a membership. There is a VIP one too where you get all access to everything else. And if you just want the Discord voice notes because it resonates with you in some way, shape, or form, by all means, you could get that too. That's totally fine. You'll get updates on what I put out for the VIP stuff and what I put out for everything else. If you happen to get a membership over at YouTube, because we managed to get into that partner program, and I'm so grateful for that, and I'm so grateful for you guys. YouTube.com/Square Circle Podcast/join. If you guys end up getting a membership there, I will make sure that you're able to listen to the Discord notes, or you just want to support, that's fine. I'll figure it out. I'll figure out something. But yeah, I don't want people to feel abandoned. That's my thing. I've been trying to figure that out. Maybe I should do that in Discord Notes 5. But for right now, I hope you guys enjoy this episode of Discord Voice Notes 4. Because this was like a rusty thing, man. A rusty thing. Let me know how I did. Leave a comment. If you're listening to this on Spotify, thank you so much. Spotify now supports um comments. I'll put it up on YouTube. I'll put it up on Substack. I'll put it up on Fourth Wall. And also we're on Rumble now. Marie Shadows is also on Rumble, so check that out as well. This is where I'm going to cut it off. Episode 5, we're going to be diving into some behind the scenes stuff and whatnot. And just talking things through. That's all it is. Talking things through and brainstorming and stuff like that. And again, I would love your input. I'm always encouraging people's inputs and their takes and their responses. Again, just be very mindful of what you say. That's all I ask. You don't have to be nasty about it. You don't have to be, sarcastic about it. You don't have to be anything. Just be normal. But yeah, if you want all of that, if you want to continue to support me, those are the places where you can find the Square Circle podcast, where you can find Discord notes and also Crossroads. And yeah, I love you guys. Thank you guys for supporting me. Thank you guys for listening to all this and hearing me talk about, things that I normally don't talk about. I really appreciate each and every one of you guys, and I'll see you guys on volume 5.